And I'll let Phil, Chris, go ahead.
So what we've done is we've chosen 4 brighter objects because we had the moon in the sky this week. Of course, after Sunday night's full moon, the moon will start waxing or waning in phase and rising later. So next week, later, by the end of next week, we'll be able to get back into some fainter targets with the moon not bothering us too much in the evening. So what we've done is I picked 4 globular clusters, basically. So we've got, first of all, there we go, here's our meridian. So around 11 o'clock tonight, you can go for M68. So where is it, my M68? Should be down here. It's already passed, it's already in the western half of the sky, down here near Corvus. This is M68. M68 is a medium-sized globular cluster, relatively bright, but it's rather low in the sky for Canadians. So try to look at it around 11 o'clock or so when it's kind of higher in the sky. Possibly you can see it in binoculars if your skies are dark, not when the moon's around, but when the skies are dark. Easy in small telescopes, but you'll see more details in your larger telescope. I'll bring up my binocular view here. What you can do to find it is you can take the stars on the eastern side of Corvus, the Crow, and take a line from Algorab to Kraz and just 1.5 times, and just keep scanning, and you'll pick up M68. If you can bring up the view here in the eyepiece, I'm going to bring up the DSS, the deep sky image, and show you how that looks. So that's kind of a relatively natural view of how it looks in the telescope. And you can see it's, you want to make a note of, is it a dense ball? Is it a little more relaxed? The shape, things like that. All right, what's up next is we've got M5. So M5 is up here on the edge of Serpens and Virgo. And M5 is large and bright. It's a bit more diffuse. Some people have claimed to be able to see it with their naked eyes. I don't know, I haven't tried. Certainly binoculars in any size of a telescope will work well for it. It's nice and bright. It sits near a magnitude 5 star, so just north of this magnitude 5 star, 5 Serpentis. And that star is a palm's width to the right of the brightest star in Serpens, High. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Or another way of doing it is you can extend the neck of the snake downwards. So if I take my measuring tool, kind of go here and kind of double that, and you're in the neighborhood of M5. And then in a telescope, you can see already it's the same field of view as I showed a minute ago, but it's much bigger and much more impressive than M68. Its nickname is the Rose Cluster because some people have seen patterns in the stars that may be reminiscent of rose petals. I thought it maybe kind of looked like a spiral galaxy face on when I was looking at it through my telescope. So see what you think about that when you're looking at it yourself. That should be relatively easy even when the moon is around to find it. Next up is we have our 2 favorite globular clusters in Hercules. So we have Messier 13, which is a celestial showpiece, big and bright.
It's the bane of my existence.
Is
it's
it?
my goal. I don't know. I've multiple times gone out and it's been too low and washed out from light pollution, or it's too high up in the sky that my neck hurts.
So there are a couple of tricks you can use. So if you can find Vega, right? It's kind of on the line joining Vega to Arcturus, and it's somewhat closer to Vega. So that'll get you in the neighborhood. Then you want to look for the 4 stars, the keystone-shaped stars of Hercules. It's wider on the left, narrower on the right. And then you just want to go 1/3 of the way down on the higher side of the keystone from the top. And there's where it'll be. It's pretty easy to find using that trick. When you're looking at it, you'll see it's big, right? What's that?
I was gonna say I've seen it is this if you're in dark enough skies, could you potentially see it with your naked eye as like a blur or?
Yeah, yeah. Some people have seen it in naked eyes, definitely binoculars, even from the city. You can see it with binoculars if you're, if it's not a full moon, if the moon is not too bright, but just the light pollution, not the moon bothering you. Yeah, so that's how you can find it. When you're looking at it, here's the DSS image, and you'll notice that I'm actually going to change my Alt-O here. I'm going to pick my plus 26. So in a lower power eyepiece, there's a little galaxy sitting right here, NGC 6207. So you can see if you can see that galaxy, especially if you're in a nice dark rural location. Last up, we have M92, also in Hercules. M92 is about half the size of M13. It's kind of often overlooked in favor of its famous sibling there. You might get it in binoculars if your sky is dark, if you're in a rural location. But the way you can find it, there's a couple of tricks you can try to use. You can make a kind of a regular triangle, equilateral triangle, from the top longer edge of the keystone. That's one way of doing it. I noted that you could find it using the iota Hercules and kind of less than half the distance from the top of the corner of the keystone down to the foot of Hercules. You could do it that way. There are a couple of other kind of places that it's midway between, so you can do it some other different ways. But that's the way I would try it first, is using that sort of triangle idea. And then when you're looking at it, just bring it into the view here. You can see right away it's a lot smaller and more compact than the other ones we've looked at. So it's a bit farther away than Hercules. Hercules is about 25,000 light years away. This one's about almost 27,000 light years away. So those are your recommended Messier minutes for this moony period that we're in. And then next time up, we'll get back into some dimmer objects for our new moon week.
Do we have any questions? This is your call for questions about Messier minutes. We'd always like to know if you've actually gone out and used any of our tips to see it. As you know, all these things we've discussed, you can find at ras.ca/Messier-minutes. I was a little late last week. I apologize for that with my internet issues. We have a PDF, which has all the targets, all the kind of things to look for that Chris has mentioned, the finder charts, as well as the log books, and a link to just the segment for Messier minutes from our episodes. You don't have to scan through the whole episode. I do that for you. I crop it out and I have a whole playlist. We have a question. Any advice for the moon eclipse on the 15th to see it?
Well, of course, lunar eclipses are 100% safe. Everybody can get outside and look up. You can just look up with your eyes. Binoculars work well. You can put a camera on a tripod and snap pictures along the way. Remember, it takes a few hours for the whole process, so you've got plenty of time. Lots of advice about bracketing your exposures because you've got plenty of time. So kind of plan, how often you want to take a picture, and when you do that, bracket your exposures and capture a few different versions of the scene so that you can then pick from the best of those. You can use Stellarium or an app to figure out the angle where the moon will be in the sky, so you can decide where do you want to stand. You don't want to set up your lawn chairs and have everything ready to go and have a tree or a building in the middle. So I don't know. What do you think?
My big advice, and I'm saying this because I feel everybody forgets this, is it's a long time, bundle up, even though it's getting warm, make sure you're comfortable to stay outside that long so you don't feel like uncomfortable while you're watching it. I personally, I hope it's clear, because I don't remember ever seeing a lunar eclipse. I've seen a couple solar, but I've never actually made it out to see it lunar yet. I know I need to do that.
So a couple things to watch for. The upper northerly zone of the moon should be darker than the southerly part of the moon because it's deeper into the shadow. So redder and darker. Once it's in totality, you should start seeing the dimmer stars around return to more intensity. So Libra is not a very bright constellation, so you'll see some of Libra stars come back into view. So yeah, and share your pictures and let us know how you did.
Fingers crossed it don't get rained out. Okay, I think this is the end. James just sharing, they drive to a nearby spot that's not surrounded by trees. They alternate between camping out the van and going outside in cameras. Yeah, I set up my my SUV that way too when I drive out. Okay, I would like to thank you all again for coming to this episode of Insider's Guide to the Galaxy. And we are back in 2 weeks, right, Chris?
Yeah, we'll be back. And then we'll probably
More
slow
fun
things
stuff.
down a little bit for the summer.
Yes, that. So May, it'll be the last regular every 2, but when the summer starts coming, gets warmer, we want to be outside a little bit more. Everybody needs a break. Chris works so hard for you and us. We got to give him a summer vacation. So we are going to do that. And we'll make sure we update the schedule on the website accordingly for that.
I think we're going to look at how to plan an observing session, checking the weather, checking various things, getting ready, charging batteries, all that cool things that you need to think of. And then I was thinking of doing the Globy Awards, having the best globular clusters, the brightest, the farthest, the things like that, because summer is globular season.
I love it. So now I'm super excited coming up. So see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you all.